Okay. So we're all set?
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Good evening. We had a little technology snafu, so we have called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and the roll was called. Lori Sebastian, Danny Elam, and Jacob King are present. So we are ready to say the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda. Before I ask for the approval of the agenda, are there any additions? I would just like to say a few words about the dedication ceremony following or after everybody has public comment on the agenda. It's acceptable. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll move.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mrs. Hageman, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian.
Yes. Approval of the minutes. We have minutes from June 21st, 2023, and minutes from July 17th, 2023. Are there any comments or discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. Mrs. Hageman, will you call the roll?
Mr. King,
Yeah.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian.
Yes. Public participation. I have two for the agenda items. Mrs. Kiplinger.
Okay, so I just had a couple of questions. The first one being the salary schedule that was attached to the agenda. In looking at this, it is very inequitable. And it seems that somehow step 25 for the assistant treasurer has changed because it used to be 2204 as the max, and now it's 2771. Also, again, if you look at the percentages, it's very inequitable. It seems to basically favor certain people on the staff. So that was my first one. The second one is on the open checkbook. There is a special payment to SJ. No fund is attached to that. And yet it's over $2,000. So I was just curious as to what that was for. If you could explain that along with the salary schedule and then the policy for the benefits. Is this the first reading or is it being approved tonight? And is this a change in who is actually eligible for the benefits, or is it just a change in how much they would pay for their benefits? You know what I'm saying? So, and I guess, is that part, I thought that the benefits was part of the BEA contract, so I was curious if you could do that without the consent of the BEA. So if you guys could just expand on some of those things or explain some of those things as they come up, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Mrs. Kiplinger. Mrs. Reese.
And I do have some questions and answers. So the first is the classified custodian. This is not about the person, first of all, me, I'm a procedure and policy numbers kind of person. Went from a step 5 to a step 9, seemingly just from moving from second shift to the first shift. I once again reiterate that the superintendent is supposed to be using the 2 policy. I do not believe this gives him the latitude to bump someone 4 steps. This is going to cause chaos if it doesn't follow a policy and consistently be applied to employee years of experience when hiring and removing employees. I again ask that the board instruct the superintendent to follow the E2 rule of thumb and be consistent when applying the experience to the steps. The salary schedule for the new English language support specialist, I just wondered what is that based on, like where did the salary numbers come from? Are they comparison? Because it's a lot higher than just a regular teacher aide. That seems to be like a special position now. Third thing is, I've noticed over the past few meetings that more and more bus drivers have well over 4 hours that used to be typical for a bus driver. Can you just explain why the hours seem to be rising? And especially the cases where it's 7 or 8 hours, a 7-8 hour schedule for them. It seems like a lot of hours for a bus driver. For the gifted coordinator, does this mean we are basically moving it back in-house and will no longer be using the ESC? That's my question for that. For the medical and dental insurance for part-time employees, well, Rich already asked this, so same questions as correction. Why not 2 readings? It seems to have popped up. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reeves.
Can I ask a question there?
Sure.
I didn't capture what Ms. Kipling was saying in the end with regards to the DBA.
I believe the policy that Mrs. Hageman is asking us to pass is for classified employees, so it doesn't impact our certified employees.
I'm just trying to get the correlation
Yeah,
to understand, so if we're in discussion, name through correctly.
So I would like to just say thank you to all of those who came out for our building dedication yesterday. It was a beautiful day, a wonderful experience. We think we had a couple hundred people at the ceremony and walking through. I want to thank especially a lot of staff that I did not have the time to thank yesterday in person. Danny told me to keep it short, and I think I still went over 10 minutes. So anyways, I want to thank Mr. Crispin and Mrs. Hageman for all their work with the building project, and Mr. Crispin's executive secretary, Shelley Huron. I'd like to thank Jason, are you in here? Jason Cook, our technology director, and Jacob Watson, Jacob, after the program, got a lot of stuff sent out to media. I'd also like to especially thank Todd Bird and Derek Goins for, the last 3 months, they have gone over and beyond, and I didn't single them out, but I do want to say a special thank you to them for all their work with setting up. They were in there Saturday morning still taking boxes down. So just really appreciate that. And then of course, Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Hogan, who somehow managed to get the library set up. And I know maybe some of you teachers or some of the aides were involved, and I think even maybe some of the PTO members were involved. So thank you for all you've done. I mean, it took a lot of people to get the building in the shape it was. So I don't know, do any other board members have any comments they want to add?
It was wonderful. Appreciate all the hard work that was put into the moves, to setting it up, and to all the staff that were there to assist the community as they walk through the school. That was wonderful.
And my personal favorite part was that we were able to have all 4 of the living 2004 board back who purchased the land. That was to me just so neat to tie our history to our present, and they were so appreciative to be included in the ribbon cutting. And Mr. Crispin, I want to thank you for having that idea, because that was just wonderful. So anyways, all right, on we go. Mrs. Hagan.
I wanted to try something a little different. This is end of the year sort of summary for everyone. For last year, it just ended in June, as we still do all our reporting through the end of August and whenever ODE wants something. So revenues were up 19.1%, expenses were up 14.5%, total surplus is except, we came out with 170,000 to the good. Interest income increased by 75,000, real estate taxes increased by 7.7%. And ODE funding increased by 30% or 1.7 mil. So that's a combination of having good EMIS data, because we were not, our EMIS data wasn't that great, and that, we're counting our kids right, and we've got them all labeled correctly for all their extras, and as well as getting more money from the school funding formula. So income tax increased by 11%, tuition and open enrollment decreased by 44%. And we did have a little bump in benefits for the overall increase in expenses, salary and wages also increased by 15%. And equipment and capital purchases decreased by 22%, because we've been sort of holding off on those as we look at the new building and what we needed to get done with that. So year-to-date revenues were 18,276,000 and some change. Year-to-date expenses, 18,106,356. So we pretty much broke even, which is good. And our current cash going into this year is $3,362,906. So we look at the income tax for fiscal year 23. We collected 2.4 million roughly, which is an 11% increase over what we collected in fiscal year 22. Which is odd because most districts in the state of Ohio actually saw a reduction due to COVID and not working and things of that nature. But we actually saw an increase, so that's a good thing. Food service account, last year, or the year before last, fiscal year 22, all students were free and we got reimbursed for all free and reduced everyone. So our revenues were slightly higher, 951,000 this, and then last year, it's back to business as usual. So $685,071. But what's interesting is the expenses are 759,107. Primarily because we paid for some of the new furniture and equipment that went to the new elementary building for two reasons. One, we have to watch our surplus in food service. They don't allow us to carry too big of a surplus. And we needed some assistance getting the building done, considering we were running over budget. So it helped us get all that taken care of. But we still have plenty of money in food service. They are running with 603,000 in their ending fund balance. So permanent improvement, 604,000 in revenue, 553,000 in expenses. We had a lot of encumbrances, or meaning outstanding POs as we worked to getting the building finished and some of the other projects. So even though we ended the year with money in PI, we had a lot of money that's out there waiting to be spent. As I like to call them, open checks, because purchase orders are promised to pay. Athletics, this includes all your student activities that are coded as 300s. In my previous school districts, we coded just athletics as 300 funds, but here you have some student activities that are also included as 300. But this just gives you a snapshot of what those funds looked like going into the new year. How we spent our ESSER dollars, most of that being in equipment and on the turf, and where we are with all the other accounts as we ended the year. So just something for you guys to look at as far as how we did last year compared to other years. So monthly financial report. This is the new report. I asked you guys about the board about last fiscal year. If you want more information, please let me know. This just shows what we've collected thus far compared to our budget, revenue projections and expenses, and where we are compared to where we were last year. The bank reconciliation for the month of July, we did balance, as you can see, books and bank balance with a few outstanding checks and other items. And then our monthly financial report for the month of July. I won't go through every slide, but ODE funding is up 10%. What I found interesting is they did input all the fiscal year 20, they changed all the fiscal year 22, 23 inputs to 22. So 24 inputs to year 22. I'll get that out right. So they did that in August. So we got 260,000 twice a month in the month of July, and our first pay in August was 460,000. So I'm gonna wait and see what our second pay in August looks like and start pulling some reports and see where those changes come from. Interest is up 4%. Income tax revenues did come in sort of flat. We didn't see a big increase in our first income tax. So that's good. We can't always have a good year with that. So just a summary of where we are. Right now, current cash is $3,343,479 or 64.7 days. So and where we are with our construction account as we work towards the end of this project, so. We do have some money, so, in that fund, which is a good thing. Investment report for those that want to see it. These are our COPS funds that have been invested, and even though we had some investments that needed to be sold in order to make them liquid enough to pay for the project, we made all that back with interest. Thank God interest rates went up. So we actually ended up in a good place. So detailed check register for the month of July. Approval of transfers for this month. As you know, when we ended June, I asked you to transfer from the general fund to the grants because we can't end in a negative. And I need to transfer all those back. So I need your approval to give the money back to the general fund. And then the second transfer to be done in August is reimbursement to the district for payroll expenses related to the high school musical stipends. And Mrs. Wolford is wanting to transfer $27.45 to general fund to offset the cost that the board already paid. So, and then that's all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question with regard to, as we were discussing the food service fund
Mhm.
and how well it's been doing. A lot of times that's associated with the fact that we only have one cafeteria to service 3 schools and a staff that manages all 3. Do
Right.
we expect that to be less of a pot there based on additional staff, 2 kitchens, 3 schools? 2
Yes.
schools really.
Yes, we're gonna have additional expenses. I'm also trying to, and I'm not sure if we're gonna see any increased revenues, right?
Mhm.
Because it's still the same group of kids, it's just now we're in 2 different places. So we'll have some additional expenses because we have to add staff in order to meet those needs. So I'm gonna keep a close eye on it and see where we go, yeah. So we've made some pretty significant changes in food service, so it's gonna be a little, yeah, we're gonna keep an eye on it, but with 600,000 to the good, which I've not seen in many, or actually any food service programs. I think, we just keep an eye on it, and make sure we don't get too crazy.
Yeah, I'm just speaking with several other schools, they're always in the negative
Yes.
in there in that fund, and so how lucky we are that we're in the position we're in now.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, our cafeteria staff does a really fine job of managing that money, and we'll see where food expenses are. I mean, having done Sam's run today, I was a little shocked my bill at the end, but yeah, their food service is the same way. I had one question, if we can go back to the fund 070. Yeah, the July one, I think. Now, can we go to this, sorry. Third one.
Come on. Here we go. Yeah.
So we only have 250,000 roughly encumbered, and is this what we use to pay the loan back? Do we take that from here?
Yes.
So we have to keep a decent balance to make sure we don't default, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So are you surprised it's that high? I'm a little surprised.
No.
Okay, all right.
No, I mean, I'm not surprised because we've had some really good months with interest, and, I'm keeping a pretty good eye on it, so.
No, I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Good job. Great job. I just want to make sure, because I was like, wow. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for reformatting the reports. I think they're much more
Yeah.
understandable. I don't know what our
Yeah.
community thinks, but I think they're
Yes.
easier to read. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the treasurer's items?
I'll move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. King. So we're at E. Any other discussion? Okay, Mrs. Hagelin, will you call the roll?
Sure. Mrs. Sebastian?
Yes,
Mr. Elam?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
great. Mr. Crispin?
Good evening, thank you. First up on the superintendent's report, item A, important dates, most notably first day of school for middle school and high school students. And just a reminder that bus we changed the traffic a little bit, and we let folks know about that early on. But our buses will be dropping off out front, parent drop off will be out back. And everybody will wrap around the building and exit 201 to the right, preferably. So just keep a steady stream and coming in and coming in. Musical auditions, next big one for us is next Monday, which is the 28th, when we have our open house for grades 2 through 5, and then on the 31st, open house for K and 1. And no school on Labor Day, of course, and then Tuesday, September 5th, first day in the new elementary school. Going on to personnel. There's current tally. Still have one certificated position we're looking for, and that's a high school English language learner teacher. Classified, we have a few more there. We have 2 bus drivers, 3 food service positions, a couple of aides, and that will be it. I don't have an enrollment report. Could have brought numbers, but we just haven't had time to process them with setting up the office over at the elementary. So the numbers will be a little bit skewed, but we'll report those out August 31st. We'll get a good tally and share with the board, and we'll put it on our website.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see what's the enrollment for the K5 building, now that we have it up. And we did the extra increased space, the increased capacity, to see where we're at specifically on numbers, and that'll tell us how much growth, how many years, if we have any years left.
Yeah.
Before we're back to the drawing board.
The big transitions coming at the high school, because we graduated 103, and I think our freshman class is 160, 170. So that's transition is going to be happening in this building over the next couple of years, because I think this class is like around 100, and again, we'll lose that, and then there comes another class of 170. So but we get those numbers tallied and get them to everybody. Last thing, part of my report, great to be a part of Saturday's event. I think the best part, you would say, Crispin, what was the best part? It was holding the doors open with Mr. King, seeing those faces. It was awesome. It's kind of like first Willy Wonka movie, and at the end, Willy Wonka says to Charlie, did you like the chocolate factory? He says, I think it's the most wonderful place in the whole world. That was the look on the kids' faces. It really was. It's pretty darn close. So glad to be a part of that. That's the superintendent's report for this evening.
Yeah, and Jacob, just to follow up a little bit, I believe every classroom is full over in the new building. The good news is we have 7 sections of kindergarten plus the young 5s, but at least when I talked to one of the kindergarten teachers when I was there Tuesday, the numbers are right at 22, which is a nice change.
Oh, yeah.
So, but seven classes of kindergartners, that's just amazing.
There's 7 sections of second grade also.
So they're coming. Thank you for that.
Okay, we're going to roll on to recommendations for classified personnel. We have food service position. That's one of the new added positions. I forgot to mark this. And then Shannon Golden is a replacement hire for teacher in K2. I think it's kindergarten. We have salary adjustment, and again, some of these salary adjustments are going back and giving credit for work done previously and recalculating where folks fall on the step on our salary schedule. So Garrett's Williams, another one. Then we have renewed staff, and Ashley is coming back to be with us again. Glad to have her back. Salary schedule change is actually just have to go back and check the discrepancies that may have been pointed out this evening, but the only thing I touched was the teacher aide position. That was a position we hired last year. We had 4 part-time folks that spoke either Russian and or Turkish, and were brought in to help us with our newcomers. Most of those newcomers are still here. We still need assistance, but we only have 2 folks interested in coming back. So I'd like to move those positions to full-time positions, and in order to do so, would like the board to approve salary schedule. So I think we'll need those positions for some time, given the diversity in our community. The number, I think we talked last year when we set that $20 an hour amount. You go out, we looked at what's it cost to get a translator to come in and be in our school. You're anywhere from $45 to $75 an hour. So felt pretty lucky to be able to land 4 last year at this wage, and have 2 still interested to come back. So we have 2 contract changes. These were errors on prior approvals.
No, they weren't errors, they were increases. They increased their transportation. Yeah, they increased it.
Then we have a request for unpaid leave from Ms. Johnson. And then we have 2 resignations from Ms. Rhodes, who is, I think, recently received her degree, earned her degree, and is looking for employment in that area. And then Mrs. Akhmedova is staying home. Those are the recommendations for classified personnel for August.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Okay.
So with regards to the contract changes and the 1 bus driver going from 4 hours per day to 7.5 hours a day, is that because it is another assignment, or are they doing other transports other than the normal? They doing CTC on top of regular transports, or?
It may be those additional routes, and then we have because we're still in need of 2 routes, we have to double up on 2 routes. That may be, I don't have that list in front of me. I can get that to the board. I'm sorry, what was the other part of that? Is there another part of that question?
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just trying to clarify the change in hours.
And I just like to thank, Melissa Rhodes has been a longtime driver, and wish her all the best on her new degree, and our food service worker, Fatima Akhmedova, if I said that right, thank her for her service and hope she'll be back in the future. So, great. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for classified personnel? Thank you, Mr. Elam. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. King. Any further discussion? Okay, Mrs. Hickman, please call the roll.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam.
Yes.
Next up, employee certified personnel.
Here we go, certified personnel. A, we have 4 positions that I'm making recommendations for hire. Julie Branscombe, I think originally I think this is a replacement position. So is Brooke Piles, and I'll come back to Anna Simpson here in a minute. And Amanda Stegner is also a replacement. Excited to have all 3. Amanda knows us with students in the district, and sat behind the reception desk at the elementary. What a great fit to have her as an SEA counselor in that building. She knows our families and our kids already. Brooke Piles is an O2 grad coming back to her alma mater to be the SEA counselor here at the high school and middle school. The gifted coordinator position has been, from what I can tell, has been a kind of bounce back and forth. In other words, being covered by an ESC employee, and then most recently we had Cassie Schock serving as our coordinator. Was really looking to go back to the ESC, but Anna Sampson, who is currently one of our gifted intervention specialists, if you will, stepped up and said, I'll do it. And we're working on how to balance both, but what I really like about having somebody internal is knowing our kids, knowing progress we made last year with Mrs. Schock, and keeping those things going. So in the event that Anna needs some help, we can go back to the ESC and get her some support. But right now she feels like she can do it. So looking forward to working with her in that capacity. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I like to point out is gifted is now a fixed or funding item on the new step funding, school funding formula. So you have to spend those dollars on gifted. So Cassie's salary was like 16% went towards, being the coordinator, which was about 16,000. And the year prior, we had someone from the ESC, and it was approximately 20 to 22,000. So we need to spend these dollars, and so I mean, but you're also getting it for less than you've paid the last 2 years, unless she needs additional assistance. So these are dollars that have to be spent on gifted. So
Thanks for clarifying.
Thank you.
Item B, advancement on salary schedule. Congratulations to Amy Novelino, moving up from masters to masters plus 15. We have our 2 wrestling mentors and many more to come, as we have a few more new teachers that need a mentor. So Drew and Mindy, who stepped up to help Heather, Will, and Danny. And then we have our start of the year certificated substitute list from the ESC. Here's my recommendation for certified personnel.
Any questions from the board?
The question I had was in reference to the stipend, but that was all answered, so thank you.
And I'd just like to say thank you to Anna Sampson and Amanda Stegner for stepping into new roles. That's pretty exciting, and congratulate Amy Novelino on her next level of advancement, and welcome to our Reason mentors, Mr. Gusto and Mrs. Gatrell. So great.
Glad to have another alum on staff as well. Very nice.
And a motion to approve the consent agenda for certified personnel.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. King. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Elons. Any further discussion or questions?
I have discussion, but it's in arrears for the last section. So figured I'd just put it in now.
Okay.
As we were discussing the ELL and interpreter fees. We currently utilize at my word an online interpreter service, which equates to $81 an hour.
ouch.
That's expensive.
Wow.
$1.35 a minute. Same thing that most of the hospitals use in the area as well.
So you're saying we're getting a good deal, which is
Yes.
great. Okay, thank you.
That was all.
No, that's a good thing to point out. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or discussion? Mrs. Hageman, will you call the roll?
Always behind. Okay. Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Recommendations business.
Here we go. So annual agreements with the Montgomery County ESC for educational assessment team and autism low incidence coaching teams. Item B is annual payment in lieu of transportation action required by the board. Item C is a refined pay schedule, if you will, for adult accompanists and adult musicians. And Mrs. Hageman, talk about item D.
Okay, so this is, I'm asking for the board to waive a first reading and approve this, if you would be so kind. This is classified staff only, and the language prior to this was 1/8, that the board shall pay 1/8 of every hour. So every time there was a quarter hour change, everybody's insurance rates changed. So this never followed the BEA contract because it is classified staff. And so I thought it would be easier and more advantageous to our staff if we did it in blocks of 20 to 29.99, 30 to 30. And give, if they're working more than 30 hours a week, they should get the same benefit as the, everyone else as far as the insurance costs. So, and we're coming up on open enrollment, which is why I sort of wanted to get this done now so we can get it all updated for our classified staff. It does not take benefits away from anyone. It actually benefits the employees. So.
Thank you. And then the last thing we have is 6 donations from anonymous folks in the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Those are the business items for August.
Questions for Mr. Crispin?
Just the one, the OHSAA donation again. Why in the world are they donating?
5 years ago, they didn't have money.
They didn't.
They're giving away.
They have a separate fund for, and they provided us a check unbeknownst to us, so we were happy to have it and receive it and ask the board to accept the donation. I don't know.
What if that's in relation to hosting any of the regional games?
It was just for,
Yeah.
no, they didn't really put any strings on it or anything.
No, I'm not saying it's a payment because of
Right,
the hosting of regional.
Because of the widening, the expansion of football playoffs.
Yes.
they got some money and they wanted to share and we're appreciative. We took it. I took it and ran to the bank. I did. So.
On the musician and accompanist compensation, is there a reason we just can't put this in place because Ms. Wolford's reimbursing most of this? Is there a reason we just can't do it permanently instead of listing it for next school year?
It's not really on your BEA agreement. It's not a supplemental. It's considered a stipend and stipends have to be approved each year.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Well, I think it also allows us the opportunity annually to make sure we're paying fair market value, right? And best
Okay.
value.
No problem. I just wanted to check because I'm like, because. And I want to thank whomever donated football program money, I'm guessing, but didn't confirm with Damon. Maybe some of that was for the building they're putting up. I don't know that for a fact.
That's
Was it?
correct.
Okay, I didn't confirm with him, so thank you for confirming that. So thank you to all those people who anonymously donate. All right.
The question I have with regards to the approval of 442101, those changes, so they come in alignment. And are we able to waive the 2 readings based on declaring it an emergency so that it's paid correctly from the start to be able to?
Yeah, because we have to
Review and
update our Benelogic, which is our benefits program, to make sure that when open enrollment starts, everybody has the right rates. And to be honest, And it hasn't been correct since 2018, and I stopped going back. I thought, I'm going down the rabbit hole, let me get out. So I want to make sure that everybody's got the right rates in and that it's correct when it rolls out in October. So yeah, you can certainly waive a first reading at any time, but the reason why I'm asking is so that, we've got to get all this information back to the ETC so that they can get everything updated for us. And it's much easier to update 3 or 4 classifications than every quarter hour that changes for a classified staff member, because I've got to calculate everything out from 3 hours to 8 every quarter hour. So I would appreciate it as well.
Okay, may I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda for business items?
I'll make a motion also indicating item D in this section is listed as an emergency to waive the first reading.
Thank you so much.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Mrs. Hageman, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes,
Mr. Elam.
Yes.
thank you. BEA update, Mrs. Henry and Mrs. Brewer.
Right. Hey, it's really happening, isn't it? An open house. A lot of people showed up, so I guess I really have to start school on Wednesday. See that on camera? So yeah, we're excited. I snuck through the elementary building today. It was beautiful. Mrs. Bogie was so excited that the gym is like beautiful. She's not redundant, so it was great. It was great. I wanted to thank Mr. Crispin for the awesome breakfast on Thursday. Oh, what's the matter? Thursday. And then the lunch too for the new teachers. It was delicious. I never had some food, so thank you. I did want to mention at the last board meeting, I asked a question about years of experience for the assistant treasurer. And I never got an official response from the board, so we did our own research. Last board meeting, the assistant to the treasurer for a 260-day contract was hired at $70,000. I asked how many years of experience. We discovered that person has 1 year of experience. For a certified staff member to earn $70,000, you need to have 22 years of teaching plus a master's.
Thank you, Mrs. Brewer. Facilities Committee, Mr. Crispin, can you provide an update for us?
Yes, at this evening's facility committee meeting, I shared with the group that we have two inspections that we have yet still need to pass to gain full occupancy of both the building and the stadium. And the first is electrical panel in the elementary school. Doesn't affect operations, not electrician, trust the people we hired, and they say we need it. And until we get it, can't have full occupancy, but we can still have kids, people, old school, the whole bit, although we are hopeful that it gets delivered the 26th and gets installed and passes. Press box, nothing structurally wrong with the press box. It needs to pass inspection when it has all the wires, the electrical wires and the fiber for the camera. So that's what we're waiting for Sullivan to get that finished. Still ongoing in the elementary is a sizable punch list and getting those repairs and fixes done. Later this week, we'll have the curtains for the stage installed. We had a hiccup at the just behind the field house where they're installing the transformer for electricity. Had to do with the height of the concrete pad. So probably a 2-day delay to get that ground down, and so they can install the transformer and then start hooking all the wiring up from the press box, scoreboard, game clocks, and pathway lighting. So that's we hope to get the scoreboard installed at the end of this week. It's probably going to be next week, early next week. Seeding is ongoing throughout the property, and although it is green, I know we've got open house here in a little over a week. People need to park on the asphalt, please. It's still young grass, and we need to let it grow and get good roots. Gym bleachers, we still have a delivery date and installation date of 9/18. Visitor bleachers, we're renting those. Those will be delivered the 28th of August. And then we have 2 spots left on the path connecting both properties, and those have passed compaction testing, and gravel is going to be start filling that trench out there to complete the road. So excited about that. I think that's it for items that I brought to the facility committee tonight.
I thought of 2 things with the facility. So on the elementary sign, the caps on the top don't appear to be, like maybe they're shifting. You bring that up, Peterson.
Will do.
And then
The ones on the building or out on
on the side,
the sign?
the one closest to the road. Pitch.
Yeah.
Trivial thing, I know, sorry.
Get them while they're here.
Yes, while it's under warranty, that ground may come.
Yeah.
The other thing was the propane tank. Another trivial thing, by the way, it's really not hugely important, but it's when you're inside the stadium, it sticks out like there's this like humongous thumb, right? Just sitting there, it's just this huge propane tank right there. I didn't know if we were, if they would allow either on code to extend the height of the fence and put the green lattice in, right? So it looks green. But the other thing I thought was potentially utilizing any of artist skills of any of our students to, I don't know, paint it into a big bee, like an actual bee, so it'd be a bee looking out. But I just thought it was down there.
Sticks out.
Yeah, as well as bright white in
Yeah.
next to the blacktop.
So Google has everything, right?
Mhm.
And go ahead and Google painting ideas for propane tanks, extra large propane tanks. Lots of ideas.
Are you?
Yeah. So probably get to that at some point, for sure.
Like I said, I know there are 2 very trivial, minute things based on everything that we've done, but just throw that out there.
Saturday, I was talking to some folks out there at the playground. They're like, "Where's the stadium?" And I just pointed, didn't look. And they're like, "Where?" But if you, depending where you're standing, that's all you see is
That's not
the bleachers. That, yeah, it's. I think it's fun.
Thank you.
There were other items, the field dedication.
Oh, field dedication, it's still tentative for September 1st, but we'll see. We'll see how this electrical work now in the scoreboard. We don't want to plug everything in the night before and try to have a game the next day. That's what I do. So we'll try to make a call by the end of this week.
Middle school bathrooms.
Yes, thank you. So we're waiting for the partitions. The ceilings and walls have all been repaired, painted. And so again, waiting for the partitions, should be here next week. And they figured a week and a half to do the partitions and the commodes.
Modular removal.
They're gone. And they're gonna come back and help us with the cleanup. It's not too bad, but there's still some anchors in the sidewalk that need some help with. Yeah. And then we're gonna do some seeding and around.
And that seating was part of Peterson's package or?
For over there, yeah.
Okay, because I forgot to ask you
Yeah,
that
yeah,
today.
that's
before
all,
the meeting.
that's all theirs. Yeah.
Or weekly meeting. I just want to mention to the board too, temporary occupancy, I know Mr. Crispin touched on this. Temporary occupancy, the Miami County building department is giving us the ability for the kids and the teachers and everybody to be in, but some of the full occupancy affects our insurance, which is a Tina thing. I just want to mention that because it's more of an insurance issue than attendance issue, for lack of a better word. So I just want to mention that it's and the electrical inspector is fully understanding that when you ship from overseas or wherever this panel's coming from, we're kind of in their mercy. So there's been a really good relationship there. And for the board's information, if the September 1st date doesn't work, September 15th is being considered. So we might be on the calendars tentatively.
Thanks.
Technology Committee, Mr. King.
All right, now that school's back in session, we can start to see an uptick in the information being put out for the technology committee, requesting personnel and from the staff, as well as putting it out to the community here shortly. So I will work with Mr. Cook in trying to get that information out, and Jacob to maybe a sign up sheet on the website, or if you're interested, you can go here to join the technology.
Liaison reports, Mr. Elon.
Legislative, not really anything of great import lately. After the fair funding formula was passed in the budget, so nothing really great to report right now.
Well, so they just put out the guidance on school levies.
Yeah.
From the
Auditor of State's
auditor of
office.
state, saying everything we can and cannot do as a board. Or the superintendent treasurer, I just glanced over it. I mean, so don't worry, you're not, it came out before we started, so.
Yeah.
Right, so while you were looking at the facilities committee stuff, I was reading their report and reading that. But it goes through and just lays out what we can help, what we can allow the levy committee to do, where can we, it goes through a lot of question and answer. It's real fact-based. We've done a really good job just on my quick survey that we have managed it correctly to this point. So one of the things that they are allowing that we didn't think we could allow was that board members and superintendent and treasurer are also allowed to set up a levy committee. Excuse me, and to help form it and get it and be on it. So which in the past we have not done because of the opinion that we had, but it goes into further detail. That was the only thing I thought that we were overly cautious on.
Yeah.
But everything else seems like we've done everything in accordance with what there's. We got from the OSBA.
Do we have anything for the CTC or for activities? And the CTC started, and thanks to whoever put the communication out, I saw several things on the Facebook page about CTC information. I know the parents really appreciated that. So I don't know if that was Mr. Slope and Mr. Watson, but good job. Appointment of delegate and alternate for OSBA business meeting. I would like to appoint Mr. Danny Elam as the delegate.
I got an email from OSBA saying I was the alternate.
Yeah, because I set it up as she being the delegate, you being the alternate, but I put it on the agenda and I can fix it, so we'll fix it, yeah, because they wanted something now, and I'm like, they haven't voted on it, but here's what I'm thinking, and if they vote on something different, I'll update it, so I will update it. No alternate?
I would recommend Ms. Sebastian as the alternate.
I will be happy to be the alternate, thank you. We don't need to vote on that.
Yep.
Okay. Any old business? Okay, moving to number 10, public participation. Mrs. Reese, did you have additional information you would share?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So my first question based on reports tonight, can we put the $170,000 surplus or at least part of it towards the athletic field house? To consider. Here's my comment. There were several statements made today that I believe are not true statements. The board then voted on the items based on the statements made. Only one question asked in the hearing of the public earlier was answered during the meeting. That was about the week. No questions from the last meeting were addressed as old business during the meeting. Where is the accountability to the community? I think trust is once again. I feel we need to reinstate the work session so the public can give their input on issues and the board can discuss openly prior to the items coming up for a vote. Where are all these items that are on the agenda to be discussed? The last thing is the salary schedule hiring policy. I just want to reiterate, there needs to be a consistent policy applied when hiring new folks and fixing things that are incorrect from the past. We are supposed to be a Me Too school to match the teacher contract where possible. Salary is one of those areas where it is possible. So I think that we're going to create chaos and very unhappy employees if we continue to just add steps here and there when they're not warranted based on experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reese. Mrs. Hughes.
Thank you. I'm referring to a question I asked last meeting regarding free-range animal students in the schools. Has a policy been developed? I hear nothing, so I guess nothing's been discussed. I also have a question about free speech for a student. If a student is talking about his religious belief, whether it be Christian, Jewish, or Islam, and it's on his own free time, and not disrupting instructional time, will there be punishment for that child? Such as if they're reading the Bible during reading time, that they can read whatever they want. How will you handle this? Because hearing from other schools, the punishment was on for the child, not the bully. And that's what I'm asking about. So I guess those are my two statements. But you better find out what's going to be about those free-range animals, because they're coming. Those furries are coming. And if they come in if they come in costume, it's really disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hughes. We do need an executive session tonight for number 1. Is there any other reasons for executive session?
Yeah, safety and security.
Number 1. Number 6. Anything else? We may also need number 3, so I'm going to mark that one as well. We have a motion to enter executive session for number 1, number 3, and number 6. Thank you, Mrs. Mansfield. You have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. May Mrs. Hageman, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
We're entering executive session at 8:01, and just a comment, Mrs. Mansfield entered the meeting at 7:59, so just wanted to let our audience know in case they didn't catch that.
Apologies, I have to hear Sarah. Work plans.
Yes. All right, so we will enter executive session. We will enter executive session at 8:01. Thank you very much for your time and attending today, whether virtually or in person.